Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Evening, kissing up to God, giving him all the glory, all the honor, all the praises, because he is worthy. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jennifer Brooks. I am your Southern Belle. Today I'm coming on with what reasons slash reasons would you give to to stop dating someone or not to marry them or if the marriage is over? And what reasons would you give, or what would you think that would cause that? Because especially if you get married, they say for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, all this stuff, and you stand up there and you promise in front of the world, in front of God and the families and friends that no matter what, you're gonna stick with this person, and even like dating. And the reason that I asked, my both my ex were older than I was, and I had someone that also married someone older than them, and now the sex appeal is gone. The attraction is gone. I went out with a guy before that wanted, only dated thin women, and I know some guys that like big women. You have to be a certain size. So when you get married or when you get in that relationship, if their body shape change, or anything could happen. God forbid if they got in an accident and now they got scars on their face because you married them because they were so pretty, or something happened and now he's not as handsome as he used to be. So, are these reasons? Are these reasonable reasons to not date anymore or to not marry that person? Because you got to think about it, because somebody that's very, very close to me, if she's watching, she know who I'm talking about. She was married, and her husband was thin when they got married, and he gained like 100 pounds. She didn't want to be with him anymore. She was done, and he was cheating on her. And I asked, I said, "What do you mean he's cheating on her?" She said, "I don't care." I said, "You don't get it, he's cheating." She said, "He can have the fact," and she used words, and I'm like, "Oh, so are you getting married because you love this person, or are you getting married to get married, or are you dating this person because they looked a certain way when you started, and now they don't look that way anymore?" Because my divorces came with infidelity, and like I know when my ex-husband cheated on me, I know what I felt. I didn't feel that love anymore. If the phone rang, I wonder was it her. If he left out the door, I wonder was he going to see her. So the trust was gone out the window, which made the marriage difficult. And then you're gonna have the nerve to cheat again. You must have lost your mind. That's why when you see me now, you be checking me out. Look, all you want, dude. And the same thing with the second husband that was abusive. Once he put his hands on me, everything was out the window. And sometimes I wonder how people can stay in relationships when there is no love. But is it worth it sometimes? Sometimes you might stay in different rooms and you just have a roof, or even you're just raising your kids, because even some marriages, once the kids are grown, they don't even talk. They don't even like each other anymore. So, what is it with that? Would you stay in a relationship if your partner changed? If their appearance changed? I can understand if, like I say, if abuse came, because abuse honestly comes in different forms. They come mentally, they come financially, they come emotionally, and they come physical. So, would you stay in an abusive relationship just to say you have a man or just to say you have a woman, knowing that you're miserable? Is it worth holding on to? Because some of them, I guess you could work your way through it. Once you get a certain age, I guess it don't matter. Don't nobody want you, don't nobody want them, so you stick it in there. But it just made me wonder, because I know of some relationship that have broken up because of that. And it saddens me, because this person that I was talking about didn't want their husband anymore because he had gained weight. But it's nothing out there. Now that they're out there trying to date, they're getting worse. And a lot of times when we date, we're dating the same thing that we left. And even like it's a proven fact. I wish I could have looked it up before I came on. Sometimes when a man cheat, A lot of times the woman they cheat with look like their wife. So maybe it's something missing out the house. Intimacy, is that gone? Talk and communication, is that gone? Do you have a gut feeling that something ain't right about this relationship? What reasons would you give to end your relationship? Because some people stay in there abuse and all. Some people stay in there infidelity and all and know it. And some of them be like, shoot, I work hard to make sure this relationship works. And I ain't gonna let somebody else come in here and get 30 years that I put in this relationship. So, I just wonder. I would love if somebody just throw it in or just ask me, what would it take to keep your relationship when your partner changes? Or what would it take to leave it because your partner changed? That's a good question. That was just on my mind today, y'all. I just had to come on, mess with my audience, try to come on here with something cute, something funny, something to think about. Because if you do love a person, and if you really, really love that person, you will stick in there because they gain weight. Ask them, do they want to work out? Listen, honey, talk. Let the communication. Listen, honey, you gain a little weight. I really prefer you thin. Let's work out together. Some things can't be helped. Like if something happened and they have a scar, some things can't be helped. But if they're doing something that you don't like, talk to them about it. Babe, I don't like the way you talk to me. That with the mental abuse or where's the money going on? You know what I mean? There's some ways to get around that person if you really love them. But if you don't really love them, and you're like, hey, whatever, do you? That's just I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but all right, just think about it, okay? If you think anybody needs it, to share with them. Continue to subscribe, continue to come on, continue to comment, and please continue to share because I've been seeing a lot of people are sharing my content, and I really appreciate each one of you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Jennifer Brooks. I am your Southern Belle, and I am on the right road now. All right, you guys, have a blessed night. You hear? God bless.